Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church. I hope you're having a great week. We're about to finish up our 2-week series on If You, and today I'd like to read something from the 81st Psalm. If we start with verse 8, the last part of verse 8, we find these words. O Israel, if you would only listen to me. Well, I'm going to stop here a second because here, instead of if you, meaning you as an individual, the psalmist is talking about you collectively, you plural, meaning everybody. So if you're somebody, then you're included in the everybody. Here God is saying, if you would only listen to me. Now, kind of reminds me of parenting days with little kids. Sometimes little kids really listen well. Other times, well, not so much. And I'm not sure why they don't listen well. Maybe it's because they're distracted. Maybe it's because they just have a personality tendency to be hard-headed. Maybe it's because they just don't want to. Maybe it's because they don't trust the person. All of those reasons, I think, apply to us today. Why we don't listen to God. Sometimes we're just hard-headed. I am. I don't know why you wouldn't be. So just admit it. Yep, Lord, there are times when I'm hard-headed. And then sometimes I'm just distracted. I get focused on a task or two and I don't want to get interrupted. And when God does the interrupting, you would think we could recognize that and say, okay, God, what is it? But instead, we often don't even notice. And then sometimes it's because we don't trust. Do you really trust God in your life? I mean, that sounds like a strange question. And many of us, I want to say we do, but it's better to say that we certainly try to trust God. But life is strange. It doesn't work the way we want it to all the time. It's not smooth. It doesn't start here and go straight to glory and wonder. Sometimes there are a lot of twists and turns that, well, they can be devastating. So do we really trust God? Well, in order to trust God, as this scripture's telling us here, we have to know who God is. I'm not going to trust just any God. And believe me, there are a lot of them out there. The God of money, the God of success, the God of things, the God of power, the God of being worshiped. There are a lot of gods out there, a lot more than you and I might think about. So I'm going to trust the God who really is God. So I got to know who he is. And if you don't know who God is, well, I'm going to get you started today. And then I hope you'll do a little bit of your own reading. Reading the Gospels. Start with the Gospel of John. It's not a chronological gospel like Matthew, Mark, and Luke, but it just sort of jumps around to different times of Jesus' life. That's a really good place to go to get a good idea of who God is. But this psalm also tells us who God is. And so I want to read this part, jumping down to verse 13. Now remember, 8 says, O Israel, if you would only listen to me. Then 13 says, repeats that, oh, that my people would listen to me. Oh, that Israel would follow me, walking in my paths. That's the desire of God, that you and I will follow him and walk in his paths, not he walk in our paths. We walk in his. In other words, we do the things that he would do, not the other way around. Oh, that my people would listen to me. Oh, that Israel would follow me, walking in my paths. Then here comes what happens. This reveals the quality, the character of God. How quickly I would subdue their enemies. How soon my hands would be upon their foes. Those who hate the Lord would cringe before him. They would be doomed forever. But I would feed you with the finest wheat, and I would satisfy you with wild honey from the rock. Can you hear what God is trying to tell us here? If we would listen to him, if we would follow him, it's more than just going in the ears here. It's changing the heart down here so that our activities, our lives reflect what went in the ears. If we would only do that and walk hand in hand with him, then he, God, not me, not somebody else, not you, he, God, would do what? He would subdue your enemies. Now, in the days that this was written, the enemies were people who were warring against Israel. And those folks are still here who are warring against Christians. Now, I don't mean what the politicians say. I mean what really is happening. He would quickly subdue them. And not only would he subdue them, but he would feed you with the finest wheat. In other words, he would give you the best. And he will give you wild honey from the rock. Well, I'm not a big honey eater, but some of you are. And in the Old Testament days, they used honey for a lot of things. They didn't really know what we call sugar today. And it was really precious. It was really special. It was something that you really wanted. And here God says, I will give it to you. Can you see here the character of God? The one who wants to give you and me the best. He really does. He wants to give you the very best in all of life. Now, what do you have to do to get it? Well, it's not so complicated. It's really simple. All you have to do is listen to him and walk with him and follow him. I mean, anybody could do that if they choose to. Now, again, we're back to why don't we? Well, because we're busy, because we don't trust, because we get distracted, because whatever. So today I want to encourage you to listen to God and follow him, not just for the benefits he says here, but for the beauty of finding out what life is really like. Well, thanks so much for listening. If you have a prayer concern or a need, let us know. We'll do whatever we can as fast as we can to help meet your needs. God bless you. Now, I'll be back tomorrow for the last day in this series. Take care. I'll talk to you then.